Well, good morning to everybody joining me live and everybody watching at a later time, because, hey, not everybody's up and wanting to watch a series all about mindfulness and meditation at 8:30 in the morning. So good morning to everyone live. Good morning to everybody watching later, or whatever time of day it is that you end up watching. So anyone who follows me on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn will know that the last few weeks I've been saying that I'm going to come on and do a series of lives demystifying mindfulness and meditation. So I get a bit frustrated because they're incredibly simple concepts, and they are really, really valuable tools for modern living. And yet the world seems intent on overcomplicating things. And so I really wanted to just demystify mindfulness and meditation. When I meet people who don't have a mindfulness or a meditation practice, or who haven't really got to grips with what the things mean, they often kind of feel like there's a real mystical element to it, and it's a very spiritual thing. But to kind of take that mystification away from it and bring it back down to the benefits of mindfulness and meditation, and what they actually do for us. So I've got a little graph here that I did not prepare. A very lovely friend of mine who's also helping me at the moment helped put together this little graph, which I'm hoping will help me to explain why mindfulness and meditation are not as complicated as they might initially seem. So on this graph, you can see at the top there is a graph that's showing thoughts, and on the left there we've got a very full mind. And so the bottom square there is showing somebody. In fact, I'll just nip forward and show you. So somebody there on the left-hand side of the kind of screen has got a very, very full mind. So they've got a lot of things in their head, maybe conversations they had yesterday, places they've got to be, the job that they're doing, personality clashes, all sorts of different things going on in their mind. So their mind is full. And most of us kind of live in this kind of place, and it's especially in the last kind of 100 to 150 years with the rise of the internet, social media, alerts on phones. You know, we've all got our own little mini computers with us every minute of the day. So there's a lot of stress put on us through that. And there's also quite a lot of conditioning in society to be really good at multitasking, to be thinking of a million different things at once and juggling lots of different balls and being busy and being stressed. It's kind of almost a little bit glorified. So yeah, this is how we can often be. And so coming back to the graph again, and actually I'm just going to pop that out and make it a little bit bigger so we can see it a bit easier. So on the left-hand side, we've got people with very, very full minds. And then we're starting then to move towards mindfulness and meditation. So you can see the second picture there, the mindfulness picture. We've actually taken an example here of somebody outside. So somebody kind of outside going for a walk, really paying attention to everything around them. And so the difference between that first picture and the second picture really is just the difference in the amount of things that are in the person's mind. So the person on the left is thinking of everything. The person who's starting to become a little bit more mindful and is really then focusing on what's right there in front of them, the present moment, the here and now, the kind of, essentially the present circumstances, exactly what they're currently looking at or facing or doing. So mindfulness is really essentially present moment awareness. It is being aware of what we're doing right here, right now. So a really good example of this is if you've ever found yourself driving and you suddenly think, gosh, I don't even remember how I got here, or, oh, I've just missed the junction because I wasn't really concentrating. So that's very mindless driving. It's kind of essentially you've got a full mind, the mind is too full, and so you're not then concentrating on the task at hand, i.e. driving. So everyday mindfulness can just bring awareness to the things that we're doing on the everyday. So things like driving the car. So we can bring mindfulness into our everyday awareness. And this little series, it's going to be a 5-week series. Today is the first session, just doing a little bit of an introduction to the concepts. Next week, we're going to look at mindfulness and everyday mindfulness in more detail. So that second kind of square. So if I just hop on there, we can have a look. So this one. So we're going to be talking about everyday mindfulness next week, and how there are some really simple ways to bring you back into the present moment, and to be focusing on what's right here in front of you, and to shut out all those other thoughts. So if you ever find yourself stuck with lots of thoughts in your head and you just can't stop thinking, whether that's just before you go to bed or other points in the day when you're trying to give your attention to something but you can't stop thinking about everything else, then mindfulness really could be something very, very useful for you. And tune in next week. to the next live, and we'll be talking about that. So this is kind of everyday mindfulness where you're aware of everything in front of you. So then the next thing, I'm just going to get back to the main screen a second. So we're kind of moving, as you can see on this graph, not grass, we're moving from a full mind, so a mind that is just full, out of control almost. We've almost kind of given the mind a free rein, and the mind is just thinking about anything it wants to. We're then starting to focus the mind and bring the attention. And as we do that, the amount of thoughts and the amount of stuff happening in the head is starting to reduce. And so that's where mindfulness comes in. Moving on then next, you can see there are another 2 squares here. And so we've demarked the third one as meditation. But really, there are almost 2 different types of meditation. There are lots of different types of meditation, lots of different names. And as we come onto the following week, so not next week, the week after, when we start talking about meditation, I'll talk about some of the different terminology around meditation. But for this particular kind of square here that we're talking about, this is mindful meditation. So we have been in a mindful kind of everyday mindful awareness, looking at everything in front of us. This meditation here, and we can see, I'm just going to nip up so we can see a bit more clearly. So here now, she's actually really focusing and concentrating intently on this flower. And so there are lots of different meditations. So arguably she is doing a meditation where she is concentrating on a flower. There are things like candle gazing meditations where you light a candle and you gaze at the flame. And every time your thoughts kind of go away from the flame, you bring them back. Every time you remember to come back to the flame. And so in this example, this lady is concentrating on this flower, and every time her thoughts drift off, the plan for the meditation is to bring the thoughts back to the flower. Just keep coming back to the flower, keep coming back to the flower. So now, instead of it being the whole of the present circumstances or everything in front of you, we're now coming to a really singular focus. So it's a there's one thing that we're focusing on intently. And so, it might be, if any of you have been lucky enough to go to a yoga session where at the end they do like a yoga nidra where you're lying down, and the guide will talk you through a series of steps to lead you to a really meditative or relaxed space. That again is really mindful meditation, and the thing that you're concentrating on in that case is the sound of the guide's voice who's leading you on that meditation. And so there are lots of meditations like this, guided meditations on apps like Insight Timer and Headspace. And so you can find, I know a lot of people who use a little guided meditation before they go to sleep to help like reduce the amount of thoughts in the brain. So going back now to the main screen here. So again, we're coming along this graph. We are going from a very full mind into a place where we're starting to be just aware of the present moment and what's right here, right now, and then bringing that focus right in onto one thing. So whether that be an actual object, whether that's an inanimate object or an animate object, or whether it's a guide's voice. So it's almost like there's a self-directed meditation option here or a guided meditation option here. And then moving on then to the final stage. So the final one is the empty mind here. And this for me represents pure meditation. So this is a meditation that doesn't involve focusing on anything. So not an object, be that animate or inanimate, not a guide's voice. So this is really kind of like the purest form of meditation where we are literally actually meditating. And so whereas I kind of sometimes say that with the mindful meditations, really we're getting to a meditative space, this last screen for me is really where we're really talking about actually meditating. And so there's some very specific steps. There are some specific kind of almost rules around how to do meditation and how not to do meditation. So things like not having the palms of the hands touching, not having the palms of the feet touching, because of the interference, the energetic interference that can come through the palms and the soles of the feet, because they've got a lot of receptors in them. Also having a straight back. There's a few other things, but what we're going to do, so it won't be next week or the week after, it'll be the 4th week. I'm going to be talking you through a series of steps to help you meditate. Without any kind of prompts, guides, objects of attention or anything. So it's the kind of meditation that you can do anywhere, anytime. You don't need any props or anything with you. So I love that type of meditation. And I think really going back again, I'm going to go back to the main kind of slide on here to explain that in a way, what mindfulness and meditation are all about, it's about training our brain to not multitask, to not be thinking of a million things at once. So the more that we use everyday mindfulness, the more mindful meditations that we do, and then if we can actually stretch really into then the pure meditation where we're kind of flatlining the brain and we're literally dropping all thought, which can be hard. And a lot of people say, oh, that's too hard, I can't do it. But, hey, like riding a bike, it's just a case of learning it. It's just a skill. Once you've learnt it, and I try and sit in pure meditation every morning. Sometimes in some phases of life, I do better at that than others. But when I do sit in that peaceful, thoughtless space first thing in the morning, my day goes so much better. My mood is better. And I kind of call it wakeful peace. And so that's kind of a term I like, wakeful peace. So when we're awake, especially nowadays, the phone pings, somebody calls us from downstairs. We've got a million things we're trying to do. We've got to get out the door by a particular time. It's all, the stress often starts straight away. But to start the day with peace and with calm, it's amazing how then we can draw that thread of peace and calm through the rest of the day. So whether you're up for pure meditation and learning how to do it, or whether maybe you'd be happier doing something like a small guided meditation in the morning, or simply employing mindfulness to actually just go about things in a more aware and kind of conscious way, rather than just kind of falling through life, kind of just taking all the knocks and dealing with all the things, but not really stopping and finding that peace point. So this was just the introduction to the Demystifying Mindfulness and Meditation series. So really just explaining, really just explaining, I meant to keep the graph on there, just really explaining that they're just tools. They're just tools and techniques. So we've not got mystical here. I've not talked about spirituality at all. There are lots and lots and lots of scientific studies, and I might even draw some bits of information out in some of the following sessions. Lots of scientific studies showing the benefits of being more mindful, being focused on what's right here, right now. Lots of studies showing the benefits of guided meditations and of actually kind of getting into that meditative space, wakeful peace. And then the same then with pure meditation. It's the benefits, really, I suppose, actually, I can tell you all about the benefits. I can tell you what the studies say, but actually, as with all these things, it's usually trying it for yourself, giving it a try, and seeing how you feel. So I teach people pure meditation. I take people on mindfulness experiences and meditation experiences, but I really do love teaching people pure meditation because of the lack of props required and the fact you can do it anywhere, anytime. And again, like if we're stretching the brain all the way down to that place where it's got no thoughts at all, it's easier then for us to keep control over our brain the rest of the time. It's like stretching a muscle to a particular point and then it comes back to a relaxed place. So that's it. That is the introduction to demystifying mindfulness and meditation for now. Any of you who saw, I actually did this yesterday on LinkedIn. It was supposed to go out live to both Facebook and LinkedIn at the same time, but technology failed me slightly and it only went out on LinkedIn. So there is another version of this introduction on LinkedIn, should you wish to watch it. But hopefully that's just been an introduction to the framework that I shall be using for the next few sessions to talk you through everyday mindfulness, mindful meditation and pure meditation. And I'll be teaching you some simple tools and techniques to help you all for free, all on LinkedIn and Facebook, and also now YouTube. So get in touch if you need any help in the meantime, or if there are any questions after this little presentation today. But look forward to seeing you all, anybody who feels like tuning in next week for the next session. Have a great week, everybody.